Hi, everybody. Welcome back to A Pop of Culture with your host, me, the Esoteric and Facetious, no relation. On A Pop of Culture, we speak on topics I'm passionate about, topics you're passionate about relating to pop culture, social justice, and the human experience from a Black, bisexual, millennial perspective. Everything, and I mean everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt, as I'm simply a college student with access to the internet and recording device. However, with that being said, my youth shouldn't be your sole reason to critique my views unless it's truly relevant. If you want to debate any points I make, let's have a civil conversation. Feel free to check out my first 10 video essay podcast uploads on this channel. I talk on several topics. I will leave a playlist called Binge My Video Essay Podcast in the cards. There will be a playlist linked below, and it's the only playlist on this channel if you want to go looking for it yourself. Also, feel free to check out my cover channel. I'm a singer. I love singing. Singing is a passion of mine. So I have a cover channel where I hope to document my growth, to expand my talent, and to share my talent with the world and see where it goes. So if you're into throwback R&B, contemporary R&B, pop music, then definitely feel free to check that out. I do 2 videos a week on this channel and 2 videos a week on that channel. So you'll always be getting new content. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you do decide to subscribe, make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. With all that being said, let's get into the topic of this video. If you saw the title, if you saw the thumbnail, you already know what we're about to be getting into. But today we are going to be talking about 10 stories, 10 experiences that turned me into an atheist. Now, being honest, what truly turned me into an atheist was critical thinking and examining my belief system, or rather the belief system that was given to me, and seeing that to me it did not make sense. Religion didn't need to exist for life to make sense, and religion didn't explain a lot of the happenings of life, which meant it made more sense that religion was made to explain life rather than religion existing to start life. And it caused more bad than good. But we can get into that another time. If you are a Christian, if you're a believer and you're watching this, don't feel like you have to click off the video, write me some long scripture comment. I love and accept everybody on this channel, so if you have different beliefs, then you can feel free to just watch, because there's some amusing stories in here. Well, depending on what you view as amusing, but I'm here for everybody. This is not to hate, this is just to share my experience. So yep, let's get into it. Another thing to note, I have designed this video so that the beginning to the end, the stories are going to become more and more intense. So don't just start off at number 10 and think, that's nothing, he's being so dramatic. Because I did this intentionally to build suspense, so y'all will stay to the end of the video and get some enjoyment, Can't just give the best out at the beginning. Who am I? One of the first experiences I think really tested my faith was donations and offering. If y'all don't know, donations and offering are a way that churches are able to pay their bills, to keep afloat, to pay the salaries of salaried employees of the church. And there were 2 situations I think really caused me to think a little bit more on what was actually going on versus what was being said to be going on. I'm going to give my personal example, and then I'm going to give another example. The first example I can think of was on, I think, New Year's Eve. It was, I think, a New Year's Eve service. It was a holiday service during the winter, obviously during Christmas break, winter break, what have you. So basically, what ended up happening was we were having an offering where, everyone was going to donate money to the church. I remember being a New Year's Eve service, so there was a lot of people there. There were people in the overflow. And of course, since there were so many people there, I'm sure that they were hoping for a large offering. One of the things that stuck with me, though, was when they were talking about the offering, they made sure to say that everyone should donate and there should be no donation of less than $20. And, obviously I'm young, Usually, my parents, if we were going to church, they'd make sure to, have one for, me and my sister, so, we could donate, we could, give an offering. So at this point in the service, I was probably ready for offering. Like, I remember, I think I probably had my little $1 bill ready. And the thing that stuck with me was, I guess, I feel like a lot of times, they will say, people in the church, they'll say, give what you can, And I also remember, like, people would say at the donation basket, they would say, if you don't have anything to give, then at least put your hand on the offering basket so you can receive the blessing, things of that sort. So one of the things that was always interesting to me was, so many times, they'll just say, give what you can. But when I saw them say a donation of $20 or less, of no less than $20, or it may have been $30, it kind of had me shook up, the Mary Jane girls, because I just feel like a lot of the time people are being told that one thing. They're told, give what you can. So I think this kind of tested my faith. This kind of made me see things a little bit differently, because I feel like one of the things that people will say is, that to have faith. So I guess for me, the issue I had was I felt like if they had faith, then they probably shouldn't have, they should have, just believed that, God was going to make things happen. God was going to make things work. So I felt like when they were saying the $20 or no less than $20, I definitely felt a way about that, because it made me feel like, so it's not good enough if somebody doesn't have $20 left to give. And I think one thing that's important to know is they also didn't have like something that they were raising money for, as far as I know. Like, I know at a time that church, had some debt they were trying to pay off. And I know sometimes the church, may just be struggling. So if they're struggling, they're like, we're trying to keep the lights on. This is how much we need. This is what it is, I feel like that's different. But I feel like with this situation, there was no clear goal that was being shared with the audience. So it made me, and I'm sure other audience members, feel like, well, shoot, y'all will say these nice, friendly, fluffy statements that, sound good about, give what you can. But at the end of the day, if y'all want a certain amount of money, then all that goes away. That nice exterior goes away. So I think that was just, in the first example. A more serious example of this, or a more extreme example of this, was something that happened with Creflo Dollar's church. Creflo Dollar is a pastor who runs a mega church. It's called World Changers Church International, and it's based in College Park, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta. Some background information on Mr. Dollar. That's such a funny name and that's actually not his name. It says he was born Michael Smith, but now his name that he goes by now is Creflo Augustus Dollar Jr., which is kind of confusing, because it's like, how is he known as Junior if he wasn't named that? Anyways, he's a very wealthy man, but the story I remember is somebody who I was close and I was friends with. I remember they were saying, they went to his church, and it went all around the news that he was wanting a jet. And I remember talking with him about it, because basically he wanted a $60 million jet where he allegedly was going to use it to spread the gospel. And he wanted every family to contribute $300. And this kind of reminded me of the situation with the $20 minimum, because I feel like there's nothing wrong with wanting to keep the lights on in the church, to make sure that the pastor and the other people who are being paid are able to pay their bills and make ends meet, and be able to provide for their family. But I think situations like this kind of made me aware of the fact that some of these people were not necessarily out for teaching the word, spreading the gospel. They were more out for financial gain, and they were going to get that financial gain through what I would call and what it appears to be manipulating audiences of people. And this is kind of like pretty much what the prosperity gospel is, this idea of you give more and you will receive a blessing. So I think that like both of these situations opened my eyes to the fact that some of these people potentially were making use of their audience for financial gain. And not just, like I said, not just paying the bills, not making ends meet, but being able to live in excess, to live in luxury, even though those things are things that are not always valued within religious texts. Number 9. The next experience I had that made me question my faith and question religion as a whole was something that occurred not too far from home. So there is this area that is, somewhere, around where I live. And basically there was a church, a local church that, decided to put up a sign, like pretty much like a sign, normally, small local churches will have signs relating to services. So they may, so if you're driving by and let's say you've moved to a new area, you may say, okay, you're trying to find a local church. You're trying to, try out a few churches, see how you like them. They may have a sign out that'll say, what when their morning services, when their afternoon services, when their Bible study is, the pastor, the first lady, different things like that. And so this church was a local church. I'd never attended this church before, but it, like I said, was a local church. I'd like rode by there before, and they basically, instead of having just messages of, okay, this month, we're going to have a Father's Day service, or, we're going to have a reception, it's pastor's anniversary. They decided to put, and this actually made national news, and they put a sign, and it wasn't the first sign, but they made a sign that said, God created man and woman, Satan made gays and transgender. And that's literally how they wrote it. Genesis 5:2. Let me pause for a second. Genesis 5:2 actually says in the King James Version, male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam, and in the day when they were created. So I feel like there's a lot to unpack here, but I guess my thing is, I don't like when churches, my thing is, it's not okay for you to be homophobic or transphobic, but if that's how you want to be, if that's, your heart's desire to be somebody who is against a large group or a sizable group of the population who has done nothing to you, if that's how you want to choose to live your life, and that's just how you silently choose to live your life, then that's fine. But I guess the issue I had with this is this individual, whoever made this sign, was going out of their way to say something hurtful. And I also, like I said, I don't care for the fact that they tried to use the scripture, because the scripture doesn't mention lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender. It just says, I guess God created man and woman in his image. It says nothing about Satan, and it also doesn't say anything about whether Satan created gay and transgender people. This billboard was actually defaced, and that's a conversation in itself. Some people may say that even though it was something that was hateful, they had the right to put it on their property, and other people may feel a little bit more radical and say that, if you spread hate, then the way people respond is the way they respond. But I think this just definitely stuck out to me, because I feel like that's the thing I see a lot, and you'll see more of this in the future in this video. The thing that I think I see a lot so often within is basically this idea of, no one asked me to share my opinion or my view, but I'm going to share my unsolicited opinion for other people. No gay or transgender people, as far as I know, were disturbing the church people, but these people felt the need to make this hateful statement. And like I said, they couldn't just stand by it and say, we the people of this church, or I, the person who changes this board, feels this way. They tried to, use their religion. And there are scriptures that people can use, especially obviously to attack homosexuality. But I feel like, with transgender people, I don't know that there would be as much scripture, because I feel like obviously there wasn't a lot of that language. And even some of the stuff about, maybe a man shouldn't wear female clothing, I feel like that's a reach. But overall, that experience taught me a few different things. One of the things it taught me was these people who put this hateful bulletin up when the news came to discuss the situation after the bulletin board was defaced, these people seemed to be acting as if they were the victims. And these things are very complex and nuanced. So technically, if you put a sign up, I guess regardless of what the sign says, if it's defaced, then technically you are the victim in the fact that you are a victim to having your property defaced. But at the same time, if you're putting a hateful message on there, then I feel like that kind of does make it a more nuanced conversation, because it's like, I feel like technically they attacked a certain community first. But I think this, like I said, showed me that some religious people, not all religious people, but some religious people are going to go out of their way to say things that they know will offend people. And I think that just stuck with me. And I think that does bring up conversation. Let me know if y'all want me to do a video, to do a debate with somebody. If you want to debate me, let me know if y'all think that, people should be able to share these opinions. And one thing that I think is important to note is some people are not going to have this sympathy towards queer people, to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people plus, they're not going to have that sympathy. But I do think that some people who are of another group, like if it said women XYZ, if it said Black people XYZ, I just think that this was like a very interesting situation, because it showed me, like I said, some people are going to go out of their way to try to offend and hurt people. And that was experience number 9. Experience number 8. This is another fun one. So basically, as I said earlier, I have a cover channel. I love singing. Singing is a passion of mine. So basically, I was a part of the church choir, and I enjoyed singing in the church choir because, if you are like me and you love singing, any chance you get to sing, to learn parts, learn harmonies, things like that is good, because, you take that experience in, you help it to shape your craft, to improve all those types of things. But I remember, I was a part of the church choir. Every fourth Sunday, the youth choir would sing 8 to 18. We would sing songs. We'd usually have 2 songs that we would sing. And there was the minister of music and the choir director, the music person. And usually they would teach us the songs. They would teach us the parts. But this Sunday, or this week, because like I said, we do it once a month. This time it was a little different. So there was a gentleman who came to the rehearsal. I guess he had talked to them and gotten some approval for it. I think he was a member. He just wasn't involved in the music ministry. I think, he did the mime stuff. And so he wanted to do a song with us. And basically, he wasn't going to be singing with us, but he was going to be kind of doing a Kirk Franklin type of role. So basically, if y'all don't know anything about Kirk Franklin is a renowned gospel artist. He has several hits to his name. He is a very successful gospel artist. And one of the things that he's known for is creating these beautiful songs, these beautiful sounds that tons of people love. But he himself isn't somebody who sings. He's put a lot of people on the map, like Tamala Mann, who a lot of people know from either from Meet the Browns or from Take Me to the King. And he's not someone who sings, but he's kind of one of those people who, one of the things that is a part of gospel music that I feel like probably comes from Negro spirituals is the call and response type of thing. So Kirk Franklin is known for being kind of the orchestrator. He's someone who he will introduce the phrase or introduce the lyric, and everyone else will repeat it and sing it. I'll give y'all my best Kirk Franklin impression. I dedicate this song to recession, depression, and unemployment. Now, the song we sung was not by Kirk Franklin. It was by 𝑭𝒐𝒧𝒏, but it was a very similar format of song where there was this element of call and response. But, of course, he introduces himself to us. We, learn the parts. The, choir director teaches us the parts and stuff. The song was pretty catchy. The song is still catchy. It's Victory by 𝑭𝒐𝒧𝒏 and GA. I'm like, is that Georgia? What does that stand for? Let's see. GA apparently stands for Greater Anointing, which is his gospel group. So when we were rehearsing the song, we'd rehearse Wednesday evening, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning before service. And so we mainly only focused on singing the part because we, like I said, it's called in response. So he would say something and then we'd respond. So we would sing. So we would just be singing the kind of the backup part. I got the victory, the victory. So we learned those parts. We kind of had those parts down, but things didn't really become apparent regarding the full song until later on. I think they may have played the song all the way through one time just so we could hear it, because sometimes they do that so we could kind of hear the parts before we actually learn the parts. And at that point, I heard a questionable lyric, but it wasn't until later that we heard the song all the way through. So we have our Wednesday rehearsal, we have our Saturday rehearsal, and we're getting ready for the final rehearsal on Sunday. And this time, we run through the whole song. Here's the part that we learned. Somebody who's listening right now, you think you're losing, you feel like you can't win, 'cause you tried everything. Greater is he that is within you, don't doubt. Whatever you're in now, God says you have to come out. And at the final rehearsal, we finally heard everything that he said. I'll put my impression on. Come out of depression. Come out of low self-esteem. Come out of poverty. Come out of lesbianism. Come out of homosexuality. And the funny thing is, he wasn't just, saying this, he actually handed out signs. There was a signs for each section. We only had, like most church choirs, if y'all know, they just have soprano, alto, and tenor. If you're a boy, you a tenor. So, literally they had, these signs, and they were kind of like these crudely drawn signs. Literally, I think they had stick figures of two boys, and then there was that red circle with the slash through it. There was two girl stick figures and red circle with the slash through it. And they just gave those to kids to hold from the choir. And I just remember just almost being in shock, alongside, I'm sure, other choir members, because, we as, the youth choir, we get up there, they tell us what song to sing, we learn the parts and we sing it. But I definitely feel like I and a lot of other youth kind of definitely felt kind of powerless, because one of the things I saw, and I'll get into in another experience that I saw in the church, was a lot of the people within the church who were older were all okay with, some of the homophobic and transphobic things that were being said. So, they would, be clapping their hands and hallelujah, amen, 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 hallelujah. But a lot of the young people, and I'm guessing it's because, generational gap, I feel like there's been a lot more positive representation of LGBT plus people for young people to actually, see these people and see these people not as monsters or villainous or evil or sinful. So it was funny that, the youth were given this song and given these signs. But the funny thing is, from what I saw and what I'll share later, the adults were the ones who were all okay with the message. But a lot of the youth were not as okay with clapping and praising during those moments, because a lot of the youth have a very different perspective and didn't grow up in the same world and taught the same things that these adults were. So that was experience number 9. And like I said, the song was catchy, but I definitely felt a ways about the fact that we as the youth choir, we were just expected to kind of go along with this message, and there wasn't really a space for people to say, hold up, maybe we shouldn't say this, or I don't feel comfortable saying this. And I feel like I wonder what would have happened. And even being a little bit older and having a little bit more knowledge of, the happenings and even the people, I know that I wasn't the only one who was feeling some type of way. So, it's just, these situations are just very interesting because, when you look back on them, you just kind of wonder what would have happened if someone said something, you just wonder. And let's get to number 8. Experience number 8 has a special place in my heart because it's just, one of those things that you just remember. So basically, it was another New Year's service. Maybe it was the same service, but basically, when churches have these big services, whether it be Christmas, Easter, New Year's. Because if you don't know, Black people have a watch night service, and from what I've heard, the watch night service was something that was put in place when Black people were still in slavery, and they were, waiting to see if they were going to get their freedom. And it's something that's continued over the years. And it's just a time where you can, bring in the new year with, around your church family, while everyone else is, drinking and having a good time, clubbing, partying, doing quote unquote sinful things. You can bring in the new year in a Christ-like way, And so on this watch night on church, like watch night, Christmas and Easter, because there's that joke about the C and E Christians, the people who only go to church on Christmas and Easter. This is a great way to get new members and get a good bit of donation, get a good bit of offering, because there's going to be a lot of people there for holidays, people coming in to see their family, to see their, their grandkids, things like that. So if you do this service right, you can get a lot of money, you can get new members, and new members means, can be new tithes, new, worshipers, new ushers, all this other type of stuff, more offering, all this other type of stuff. So this is a big opportunity. So a lot of times the churches will pull out all the stops. So, those really good soloists, they're going to be singing solos or doing duets, that spoken word person, that kid who can mime very well, that kid who can dance very well, those poets, they're all going to be highlighted because, talent sells, talent, gets people moved, This is not going to be the time that, that person who's a little pitchy is going to be put on the front line. This is an opportunity to bring new people in. So a lot of times those people who have exhibited talents and skills will be tapped on. So one of the people who was tapped on this time was this girl. I think when I was a senior in high school, when I was in 8th grade going to 9th grade, I think she had just graduated from high school, and she had some younger siblings. And she was one of the people who was known for her spoken words. She was somebody who was very articulate. She was somebody who, her poems could really move you and make you think. She was very much that artsy type, that person who always put together with their outfits and stuff, There's somebody who, always has a camera on them. It's that photography, that kind of artsy, fashion-y type of person. So that's who she was, at least from what I'd seen. And, so she, of course, they introduce her. And, they say, that she's going to, be doing a spoken word. And like I said, I think this was in 2015 or 2016. Let's see. So I believe this was in December of 2015, because from what it says here, in May 2015, national public support for same-sex marriage rose to 60% for the first time. In June 2015, the Supreme Court ruled in the landmark civil rights case of 𝘎𝑪𝒃, I think that's how you pronounce it, versus Hodges, that the fundamental right of same-sex couples to marry on the same terms and conditions as opposite-sex couples with all the accompanying rights and responsibilities is guaranteed by both the Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And of course, when this happened, when this was named, Love Wins, #Love Wins, #Love Won. So basically, this speaker, during her spoken word, during her poetry, during her poem, she was talking about, how to be a Christian in 2015, because like I said, I think it was 2015 when this happened. She was talking about how do you navigate being a Christian in 2015, in our world in 2015. And one of the things that stuck out to me in her spoken word, in her poem, was she was talking about, how do you be a Christian? How can you be a Christian in 2015? And one of the things that she mentioned was, how can you be a Christian in 2015 when someone in your office, has a flag that says that love so-called won, that love supposedly won. And basically, what she was kind of trying to hint at was, from her beliefs as a Christian woman, she was, now I remember, she was saying that basically, how are you supposed to when love won in 2015? And then she was saying when love won, 2,000 years on the cross. And I think for me, and of course, this got, a large amount of applause. And I guess the kind of concern I had with this was, in this hypothetical situation, which I hope was hypothetical, she was saying that, she took issue with someone saying that love won when couples, same-sex couples who had been fighting for this for years, and just people in general who were queer or just advocates and allies who wanted their children, their friends to have the opportunity to get married if they met someone they wanted to become married to. I guess the concern I had was it was very odd that she was trying to, I guess, take away the fact that love won, like that this person in this example literally did nothing to her but just had a flag that in certain areas of the U.S. probably could have gotten them fired at this time. I guess what I realized was this theoretical person was not doing any harm. And I just felt like the fact that this individual was trying to take away the amount of pride that they had in saying that, love won and trying to take it to the cross. I think that that's something that we see a lot. And this actually brings up our next memory. But I guess wrapping up this experience, what I didn't appreciate about this poem was, like I said, yet again, nobody who was LGBT plus was causing an issue, was fighting, or was forcing to be accepted. They were just, had a flag. In her spoken word, they just had a flag. And I guess this idea that, I guess there's this idea that there has to be this friction, like there has to be this state of unrest and anger at the fact that people who have been fighting for it finally have rights they should have had years before. The issue I had with this spoken word is, like I said, we keep seeing these instances where these Christian people, unprovoked, are trying to say negative things about a community that has not done anything to them. And the thing that I thought was just made the situation even worse was a few years later, I was scrolling through Tinder, and as I said in the intro, I am bi, so men and women are coming through my feed, scrolling through, swiping, stop swiping, I was swiping through, and I actually happened upon her brother, and it just made me feel bad because it's just like I said, you're making this speech, you're probably thinking, you're, being this great, person, you're probably getting accolades in the church, but, little do you know, or hopefully you didn't know, you're speaking, badly about your own family, But let's get to number 8. So number 8 was, there was this girl group that was coming to the church. If y'all don't know, basically, there will, sometimes, to kind of have a treat for people, to kind of get them out of the regular flow of just going to church, hearing the same old preacher speak, hearing the same soloist sing. Sometimes they will, have new people come, and sometimes these people will be up-and-coming gospel artists who are, trying to get their name out there, trying to, sell some CDs, things of that sort. So that was what happened that Sunday, and there was this group of people, and basically, I think they're probably mid-20s, and basically, they kind of gave you like a TLC vibe, where I would say early TLC, where basically like each had a very distinct look. Each of the people had a very distinct look and aesthetic. Some people may, reference like maybe like the Spice Girls, because Spice Girls were before my time, but I saw the Drag Race. They did a Spice Girls challenge, and like they'd have, different, like, I guess, different kitties, different people who were like different kitty girls who had like different aesthetics, different like Jungle Kitty, Nerdy Kitty. I'm trying to think. There was like the smart one that was Trixie Mattel, but anyways, they had a very, like, each of them had a very unique aesthetic, like a unique image, and basically they were, trying to promote their singles, promote their song, their CD, whatever, and basically one of them had a rainbow wig, and basically, they were saying, if y'all do not know, I obviously am not, somebody who keeps up with religion, because I'm no longer involved with religion, but from what I've read and from what I've been told, the rainbow is supposed to be a covenant between, I guess, people, or I guess the world, and God, that he will never destroy the earth with water again. because obviously, the flood, he was, upset at things that were happening. So he wanted to, I guess, wipe things clean so he could get a clean start. So basically, as y'all know, the rainbow is also or I guess a symbol rather, of the LGBT plus community. And a lot of people who are religious feel like this has been a perversion of, something that, because first of all, a lot of people believe that God created the rainbow. I mean, they believe God created everything, so they think that he created a rainbow. And they also feel like I said, this is a covenant between people and God. So a lot of people feel like the use of the rainbow is very disrespectful. They don't like the use of the rainbow flag, things of that sort. So I remember one of the things that stuck out to me was, they were performing, they were doing their thing, but they, of course, the lady with the rainbow hair had to make this big statement about how, the rainbow has been perverted, by the youth, by, the people, which is funny because she was young, but just saying, this generation, these people, these days, they're trying to forget what the rainbow means, and, they're trying to forget the message that God has, given to us. And basically she was saying, she's reclaiming it, she's taking it back with the rainbow wig. And like I said, this is kind of what we will see, nobody in the church was, as far as I know, sitting here trying to push themselves or, try to turn anybody queer. But we see this person, of course, she has to, speak out against the horrific things that are happening and da-da-da. This experience, like I said, we're seeing a recurring theme where basically people who have a religious belief are talking on people who haven't done anything to them and who are, saying negative things about these people, negative things about these communities. And yeah, because I feel like even this idea, I feel like symbols can be used for multiple things. Sometimes I do think, for example, what is it? What's the symbol? For example, the swastika is something that means something very differently in Nazi Germany than it does within Hindu religion, So I do think sometimes an image can be, or a symbol can be taken or used, I don't know if I would say the word taken, but a symbol that was previously used for one thing can be used for something else, and that can have an impact in the way that image is used. But I feel like people being able to love themselves and express themselves and find partners that they love and actually want to be with, I don't think that that's a perversion. I feel like it's kind of like this idea that people being attracted to people of the same sex is somehow inherently sick and disgusting and wrong. And that's where I feel like the perversion thing came from. So that was just another experience where, somebody unprovoked said hateful things about a community. And that wasn't doing anything to them. So that is incident number 8. Thanks so much for watching. That is all I have for now. This is part 1. I will be uploading either a part 2 or part 2 and 3 of the top 10 experiences that made me an atheist. So let me know what you thought of these first few experiences, how y'all would have felt if you were in my situation. And yep, I will see y'all for part 2. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And love y'all. Bye. But if you're having a good time, and why wouldn't you be having a good time, then feel free to look to your left, and there is a playlist where you can binge watch all of my video essay podcasts that I've made to this date. In the center is a button you can click to subscribe if you haven't had a chance to subscribe. And to the right is a playlist of all of my covers. I also have a cover channel where I sing covers of contemporary R&B, throwback R&B, pop music, whatever I'm feeling, whatever you're feeling. So feel free to check that out. And if you'd like to support the show, if you'd like to support me, feel free to click into the description box. There is my Cash App. My Cash App is below if you would like to support me and support the show. And you will be featured in the credits of all my videos if you choose to donate. Love y'all. Bye.